My MIL secretly gave my daughter a cell phone, just in case mommy gets angry again. I found it when my daughter asked Siri, "How do I run away?" My husband said, "It's just a safety thing, don't overreact." So I called the number. When she answered, I put it on speaker and asked, "Would you like to repeat that last message to CPS?" The look on her face when the knock came to her door was priceless. I'm 35 and I live in Toledo, Ohio. Married for 9 years to Kyle, 38. We have a daughter named Avery, she just turned 7. That kid is my world. I've worked hard to give her a good home, despite all the stress, the long work hours, and yes, some personal struggles. This story isn't light. It's not just about a controlling mother-in-law. It's about someone trying to rip a wedge between a child and her mom using fear. And when I found out, I didn't scream or throw things. I went quiet. I got smart. And I made damn sure she'd never try it again. I never had a good relationship with my mother-in-law, Diane. From day one, she made it clear she didn't think I was good enough for Kyle. I remember the first thing she said to me after we got engaged. "Wow, that was fast." I thought Kyle might wait for someone different. That's Diane. Passive-aggressive, always poking. Over the years, I kept my mouth shut for Kyle's sake. I told myself it wasn't worth the fight. Every time she joked about how Kyle used to be more organized before I came along or said Avery's attitude came from my side of the family, I just let it go. But I should have drawn the line sooner. Because what she did to my daughter, that was calculated. For months, Avery started acting strange. She'd flinch when I walked into a room too fast. She kept secrets. One night, she cried during bedtime and wouldn't say why. Kyle said kids go through phases. Maybe she was tired. Maybe she had a rough day at school. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I came home early from work, hoping to surprise Avery with her favorite after-school snack, Cheez-Its and apple slices. She was in the living room, sitting cross-legged on the carpet, holding a phone. Not her tablet. Not Kyle's phone. A whole different device. I paused in the hallway. I could hear her whispering, "Hey Siri, how do I run away from home?" My heart felt like it stopped. I walked in calmly. "Avery, sweetie, what are you doing?" She turned pale and quickly tried to hide the phone under the couch cushion. That told me everything. I sat down beside her. "Where did you get that?" She hesitated. Then, like she'd practiced it, she whispered, "Grandma gave it to me. She said it's just in case mommy gets angry again." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just asked, "What do you mean again?" She said, "Sometimes you get scary." She said if I ever feel like I need to go somewhere safe, I can call her. That was the moment something in me snapped. Not out loud. Quiet. Ice cold. I took the phone and checked it out. It was a prepaid phone. One contact saved, Grandma Diane. No passcode. I looked at the texts. "If mommy ever starts yelling again, just text me an emoji so I know." Crying face equals sad. Pouting face equals angry. Hide the phone in your sock drawer. Don't tell mommy or daddy. Remember, if she gets really mad, call me. You don't have to stay there if it doesn't feel safe. That was enough for me. Kyle's reaction? Pathetic. When Kyle got home that night, I showed him the phone. I expected outrage. Or at least concern. But he stared at the floor and said, "It's just a safety thing. Don't overreact." Overreact? I was shaking. "You knew about this?" "No," he said. "I didn't know she gave her a phone. But I've heard her mention worrying about your temper before." I figured she was just being dramatic. My temper? I mean, you've snapped before. I stared at him. Once. I raised my voice once, over Avery stuffing Legos into the heater vent. You were there. That was 3 years ago. And now she's giving our daughter a burner phone, like I'm some abusive monster. He didn't answer. So I said, "Fine. Let's see how Diane explains this to someone who actually deals with abusive parents." And I called the number. Speakerphone Justice, she answered right away. "Hi, sweetie. Are you okay?" I said nothing. I hit speaker. She repeated, "Sweetie." I kept my voice steady. "Would you like to repeat that last message to CPS?" Silence. Then the call ended. I turned to Kyle. "Your mother convinced our daughter that I'm dangerous. That she should lie to me. That she should hide things from me. And you're telling me to calm down?" He didn't say a word. I think in that moment, he realized just how badly he'd screwed up. I took the phone. I took screenshots of every message, call log, voicemail. I saved it all to a flash drive and backed it up to the cloud. Then I made 2 calls. One to Avery's pediatrician, who referred me to a child psychologist. I explained everything. I wasn't scared because I had nothing to hide. The psychologist talked to Avery, who was honest. She thought Grandma was just playing a game. She had no clue the damage it could cause. The social worker told me I'd done the right thing. That they'd be following up, not with me, but with Diane. About 2 weeks later, Diane got a visit. I wasn't there, but Kyle told me she was stunned when she realized it was about the phone. She cried, screamed, said I was twisting everything, said I was just trying to protect her. But it was too late. CPS had the phone records, the messages, the recordings. After that visit, she stopped calling, stopped texting. Then, days later, she sent me one final message. "You destroyed this family. Avery will hate you one day." I responded, "She won't have to hate me, because she'll know exactly what you did." After that last text from Diane, we didn't hear from her for about a month. It was quiet. Too quiet. I wasn't naive enough to think she'd just walk away. Diane doesn't disappear when she's embarrassed. She disappears when she's planning something. About 5 weeks after CPS showed up at her door, I got a call from Avery's school while I was at work. The secretary said, "Hi, Ms. Reeves. We just wanted to confirm your permission for Avery's grandmother to pick her up today. She's on the emergency contact form." I froze. "What?" "She signed in at 1:10 p.m. and is waiting outside. Don't let her take her," I said. "Do not let my daughter leave with her." I hung up and drove like a maniac to the school. I ran in, half out of breath. Avery was in the front office, confused and a little scared. Diane was sitting calmly on the bench, looking smug as hell. "She's my granddaughter," she said. "I've picked her up before." The school counselor stepped in between us. "Ms. Reeves, we didn't know this was an issue. She's listed as a release contact." "She shouldn't be," I snapped. "That list is outdated." I looked right at Diane. "You're done. You don't get to do this. You don't get near my child again." She gave me this little smile. "Maybe you should be more careful about what you put in writing." I called a lawyer that night. First thing the next morning, we filed a restraining order against Diane and submitted an emergency request to block her from any school pickups, medical access, or contact. It took 2 weeks. But we got it. She wasn't allowed near Avery anymore. But that didn't mean she was done. Because then she came for me. It started small. My cousin who lives in town said, "Hey, I ran into Kyle's mom at the grocery store. She said you were dealing with some emotional issues? Everything okay?" Then a mom at Avery's school pulled me aside. "I don't want to overstep, but Diane mentioned something about you being on medication. Is everything all right at home?" She was planting seeds. Talking to neighbors, friends, parents. Always with that fake concerned voice. I'm not judging, but I do worry about that little girl sometimes. I wanted to scream. Instead, I went back to the lawyer. He told me to keep documenting everything. Messages, calls, voicemails. And I did. One day I came home and found a flyer in our mailbox. It was from a local women's shelter. My name was on the back of it, handwritten, with a note that said, "This woman might need help leaving an abusive home. Please check on her if she visits." I took it straight to the shelter. The director pulled up the file. Someone had filled out an anonymous intake form with my name, my address, and a list of made-up incidents. She talks to herself violently. Her husband is scared of her temper. Her child has asked neighbors for food. Every word was a lie. I knew exactly who had done it. But now I had even more evidence. I added it all to the file. The fake form, the school incident, the texts, the calls. Then I went back to CPS. Last time I came here, I was defending myself, I said. This time, I'm here to protect my child from her. They reopened the case. This time, not about me. It was about Diane's interference, her manipulation, and her harassment. Kyle finally started waking up. Maybe it was the school stunt. Maybe it was the shelter form. I don't know. But he started seeing it. He asked me, "Do you think she's mentally ill?" I said, "I think she's evil." Things started to settle a bit after CPS reopened the case. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe without looking over my shoulder. Avery was doing better, smiling more, sleeping through the night again. She stopped checking her backpack like she was hiding something. The school removed Diane from every form, every contact list. The restraining order was in place. But evil doesn't quit. Diane didn't just want access to Avery. She wanted to burn me down completely. And when her subtle moves didn't work, she went nuclear. One Sunday morning, I got a voicemail. The number was local, but not saved in my contacts. It was a woman, maybe in her 50s, sounding nervous. "Hi, I was given your number by Diane. She said you were looking for a nanny? I just wanted to follow up. She told me you had a little girl who needed full-time care because you weren't able to handle things on your own lately." I didn't even finish the message. I called the number back. The woman picked up. "Hello. This is Avery's mother. Who exactly told you I needed a nanny?" She paused. "Diane. She said she was worried. That you were overwhelmed. She told me she was legally allowed to arrange childcare because you were unwell." I had to sit down. This woman didn't even know she was being used. I checked my mail later that week and found something that made my skin crawl. An envelope. No return address. Inside was a letter, typed and signed. "You should consider stepping away from parenting until you can get your emotions under control. Think about what's best for Avery. Children deserve safety and peace, not screaming and instability." I knew Diane had written it. It was her language, those careful, twisted phrases that sounded like concern, but were pure poison. That night, I sat down with Kyle. "I'm done being quiet. If you can't stop her, I will. And if you're not with me on this, I'll take Avery and go." For the first time, he didn't argue. He just nodded. "She took it to the church. We're not big churchgoers, but Diane is. She's at her little Lutheran church every Sunday, in her best blouse, smiling like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth." Well, guess what? One of the women from that church, my old neighbor who still goes there, called me. She stood up during prayer time, she said, and asked everyone to keep her family in their prayers because her granddaughter is living in a stressful home environment. She didn't say her name, but we all knew what she meant. I couldn't believe it. Publicly smearing me during church service? That was her new low. But it also gave me an idea. You see, Diane liked to talk. She liked to leave voicemails, send messages, call her little army of friends and warn them. So I gave her something to react to. I told Kyle to casually mention we might be going to counseling to work on my stress. 2 days later, Diane called one of Kyle's cousins. The cousin called me. She said she was going to speak to someone about emergency custody options. That was it. I knew what I had to do. I already had her on tape. I already had copies of her texts, the fake shelter forms, and the nanny voicemail. But I needed her saying it. I called Diane from a burner phone I bought at CVS. I used a voice-changing app to disguise my tone. I told her I was from a community parenting organization, interested in hearing more about her concerns with her granddaughter's home life. She went on for 16 minutes. 16 minutes of her talking about how she believed Avery was living with someone unstable, how she had witnessed emotional neglect, and how she had legal paperwork coming to make sure the child is removed before something bad happens. She said she'd already spoken to lawyers and child advocates, and a pastor who agreed that she may need to act. I recorded it all. After I got that recording, I didn't rush. I listened to it 5 times over, made sure I had clean copies saved in the cloud, 2 USBs, and one hidden in the fireproof box under our bed. Diane had done more than make nasty comments or whisper lies. She had tried to build a fake case to take my daughter from me. She used every dirty trick in the book: fear, manipulation, fake concern. And now I had her bragging about it on tape. But revenge isn't about blowing up one person's life without a plan. It's about letting them destroy themselves with what they've done. So I made a plan. The showdown: I called our family attorney. I told him I was ready to file for full legal protection, not just a restraining order. I wanted a cease and desist, and I wanted it read in front of Diane's church board, since she dragged my name through that congregation like it was her own gossip club. Kyle helped me draft a letter for the board and attached the audio file. He also gave a sworn statement, finally admitting that Diane had started this war with me years ago, and he was too scared to stand up to her. The church's reaction was immediate. She was asked to step down from all volunteer work. She was pulled aside by her pastor and told that her behavior reflected poorly on the congregation. She lost her social circle overnight. That part wasn't even the best. I contacted the shelter that received the fake intake form, told them I had a recording of the woman who filled it out, describing her lies in detail. Their legal team reached out to Diane. She was issued a formal notice. Any future fraudulent reporting could result in charges for false claims and defamation. The best part? The CPS worker who came to our house the first time? She listened to the audio. She reopened Diane's case file, flagged it, and filed a special internal report under malicious reporting. That goes on record. For good. She'll never get near Avery again, no matter how many stories she spins. But let's be honest here, I didn't come out of this story without scars. I nearly lost my marriage. Kyle and I went through months of therapy to rebuild trust. And yeah, I made my own mistakes too. I should have cut Diane out years ago. I should have stood up for myself before she ever got the chance to get in Avery's head. I stayed quiet to keep peace, and that silence nearly let her win. But the day I saw her get served those papers in front of her precious garden club, with 2 neighbors watching, that was the day I took my voice back. Avery's safe. And I'm stronger now. She doesn't ask Siri how to run away anymore. She laughs when she's tickled. She draws pictures of our family again, me, her, and even Kyle, who's doing the work now. Diane? We haven't seen her in months. And we never will again. The last thing she sent was a handwritten letter, begging Kyle to forgive her, blaming stress and poor judgment. We didn't even open it. We burned it in the fire pit. Together. Because when you try to tear a mother away from her child using fear and lies, you don't just cross a line. You light it on fire. And sometimes, you get burned for good. Things didn't magically go back to normal once Diane was out of the picture. That kind of trauma leaves fingerprints on a home. Even if the thread is gone, there were still hard days. Still nights where I woke up wondering if she'd try something else from the shadows. Even with the legal boundaries in place, fear doesn't disappear just because the paperwork says it should. But it gets quieter. Kyle had work to do for a while. I didn't know if our marriage was going to make it. When someone stands by while their parent manipulates your child behind your back, that's a deep kind of betrayal. Kyle admitted he'd been in denial for years. He wanted to believe Diane was just overbearing. He didn't want to face the truth. She was trying to replace me. He started going to therapy. Alone at first. Then with me. One night, he looked at me across the dinner table and said, "I let her poison our house." I saw it happening and did nothing. I didn't say anything right away. I just nodded. Because that was the truth. But sometimes truth, spoken out loud, is the first step back. Avery's healing. I watched my daughter change in the months after everything ended. She started opening up more. She told her therapist that Grandma made her feel like she had to protect Daddy from Mommy, and that she didn't understand why, because I wasn't mean, just tired sometimes. It broke my heart to hear that. But it also lit a fire in me. Diane used fear to make Avery doubt the one person who would do anything for her. She put words in her mouth, planted thoughts in her head that no child should carry. We did everything to undo it. Extra time with the school counselor. Playdates with calm, safe adults. Letters and little drawings from me left in her lunchbox, telling her, every single day, you can talk to me about anything. Always. And slowly, she believed me again. Diane's reputation? Gone. She tried to salvage it. Went back to her church, claiming she was misunderstood. Tried reaching out to her old friends with crocodile tears and revisionist history. But the tape got around. People heard her in her own voice, describing how she manipulated Avery to think she was in danger. They heard her outline the fake reports she planned to file. They heard the cold satisfaction in her voice when she said, I just want the child to be safe from that woman. Nobody could unhear that. She lost friends. Lost her place at the church. Got pushed out of every local group she'd been in for decades. Diane used to walk into a room like she owned it. Now, when she walks in, people look away. The real win wasn't the court papers or the recorded calls. It wasn't the restraining order or the way people stopped inviting her to brunch. The real win was this. Avery crawled into bed with me one night, held my arm and whispered, I don't think Grandma knew you love me. And I said, she didn't want to believe it. But I do. So much. She nodded. I know now. That was it. That was all I ever needed. So, if you're reading this, and you've got a Diane in your life, speak up sooner. Don't wait until someone poisons your home with lies dressed up as love. Don't stay silent to keep the peace. Because some peace isn't worth keeping. And remember, people who try to use fear to control others always forget one thing: the truth may take time to show up. But once it does, it never leaves. 6 months later. Closure isn't clean, but it's real. It's been half a year since the last time I saw Diane's name on a caller ID, in a text message, or on a letter. At first, I kept waiting for her to pop up again. Some indirect attack. A new rumor. A legal trick. But she didn't. She disappeared. That kind of silence should have felt like peace, but for a while it didn't. It felt like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Trauma doesn't come with an off switch. Even when the monster is gone, the shadows she casts stick around. 2 weeks ago, Kyle got another letter. This one was different. Handwritten, but not dramatic. Short. No blaming. No fake apologies. Just, I miss my family. I hope one day you'll see things differently. I only ever wanted to protect Avery. Tell her I love her. He read it, sighed, and handed it to me. I didn't say a word. Just ripped it in half and threw it away. We didn't tell Avery. Because love doesn't lie to children. It doesn't make them question their reality. And it sure as hell doesn't teach them to fear the person who tucks them in at night. Kyle's family? Split down the middle. Some of his extended family cut Diane off after the truth came out. Others still talk to her. She's old, they say. She made mistakes. Maybe that's true. But being old doesn't give you the right to destroy someone's family. And mistakes? Diane didn't make a mistake. She made a choice. Over and over again. She chose to paint me as a monster. She chose to hand a child a secret phone and tell her to hide it. She chose to lie in churches, to shelters, to anyone who'd listen. She didn't stumble into this. She built it brick by brick. I'm not going to lie and say we're perfect. We still go to counseling. We still have hard days. There are moments where I flash back to Kyle telling me I was overreacting. Moments when the trust between us feels thin. But we're rebuilding. The difference now? He sees it. All of it. He doesn't flinch away from the ugly truth. He doesn't defend Diane anymore. He defends us. That means something. Kids are tough. Tougher than we give them credit for. Avery started writing family journals at school. Little stapled booklets where she draws pictures of our house, our dog, her best friend. In her last one, she wrote, My mommy loves me and protects me. My daddy listens now. My grandma lives far away and that's okay. She didn't cry when she wrote it. She didn't seem angry. She just wrote the truth. And me? I've changed too. I'm not the same woman I was before Diane tried to rip me apart. I'm sharper now. Quieter, maybe, but not weaker. I used to try to keep peace by shrinking myself, by letting others define who I was. Now, I define myself. I'm a mother. A damn good one. I'm a wife who stood firm even when her marriage cracked. And I'm a woman who took back her power, not with screaming, not with threats, but with truth, patience, and a whole lot of damn receipts. Diane tried to destroy me using fear and lies. But I fought back with facts, with calm, with strategy. And most importantly, I fought back like a mother. And I won.